Welcome to the InnerSelf.com audio version of
Tired of Doom and Gloom? This article was written by William Halal. It's from my book, Beyond Knowledge, How Technology is Driving an Age of Consciousness. The COVID pandemic is the latest horror now added to climate change, authoritarian government, conflict everywhere, and other end-of-the-world threats. The Global Health Security Index recently rated nations at an average of 38 points on a scale of 100. They concluded that every country, including the U.S., remains dangerously unprepared for future pandemics. And a Pew Research Center poll finds that only 17% of people in democratic nations are confident in the U.S. as a role model of democracy. No wonder we often feel a sense of doom and gloom. I have studied the direction of world's crises for years, and my work suggests that a feasible path through this turmoil is possible. What we've learned is that the knowledge age is now fading as smartphones, social media, and artificial intelligence automate knowledge. Knowledge is still crucial, but the digital revolution is driving the world beyond knowledge into a new frontier governed by emotions, values, beliefs, and higher-order subjective thought. This means we are entering an age of consciousness. Henry Kissinger recently wrote in Time, "What fascinates me is that we are moving into a new period of human consciousness which we don't yet fully understand." Can consciousness be wrong? Consciousness is usually thought to foster enlightenment, but now we see that it's a lot more complicated. Just as information can be wrong, knowledge is a vast new domain that can include lies, hate, and delusion. The Gutenberg printing press unleashed a flood of information that led to decades of war and the Protestant Reformation. In a similar way, today's social media has provoked a wave of post-factual nonsense, conspiracy theories, climate deniers, vaccination skeptics, political gridlock, and other sources of disinformation that now pose an existential crisis. The promising thing is that an age of consciousness implies the world could overcome these threats to become a mature civilization. It's roughly the way teenagers struggle with doubt and confusion before finally becoming responsible adults. In fact, critical trends today seem to be leading toward global maturity. The Business Roundtable announcement that firms should serve all stakeholders is truly historic. The New York Times called it a watershed moment that raises questions about the very nature of capitalism. Leading companies like IKEA, Nortel, and Unilever collaborate with employees, customers, suppliers, and governments to solve tough problems and create value for both the company and its stakeholders. Larry Fink, who runs the biggest investment firm in the world, BlackRock, directed the companies he owns to address social issues. The McKinsey consulting firm forecasts that business will invest $9 trillion per year alleviating climate problems. Other trends are also hopeful. Almost all nations have agreed to impose minimum taxes on corporations to avoid tax evasion. The Black Lives Matter protests are shifting attitudes around the world as young people across the political and racial spectra demand social justice. The Me Too movement has empowered women to oust sexual predators, and the pandemic has forced millions to question working conditions, so employers are forming a virtual workplace where employees can do their jobs anywhere as long as they perform. Social evolution. The shift to an age of consciousness is based on careful academic studies and a science-based model of social evolution using historic data supported by abundant evidence. Many of those to whom the research is presented find it reasonable and they welcome the optimism. Yet others simply cannot accept the possibility of anything good. This inability to believe in positive outcomes is rampant today, and a major reason these crises continue. Negative attitudes themselves can become self-defeating prophecies because they discourage action. Doom and gloom are self-defeating. Try faith and hope. To find our way through this crucial test of civilization, it would help to preserve our faith in the universal forces that have brought us through interminable obstacles. Civilization survived the fall of Rome, the Dark Ages, various plagues, World Wars I and II, and a Cold War bristling with nuclear weapons. Today, the rebellion of Trump supporters is alarming, but a similar rebellion came from the left-wing radicals a few decades ago. During the 1960s, the U.S. was struggling to contain social conflict so severe that it flared up into riots, takeover of public buildings, and bombings. That, too, passed. Now it is incumbent to have faith in the powers of social evolution that have proceeded invariably from an agrarian age to an industrial society, to a knowledge age, and now moving to an age of consciousness. We also need to draw upon a faith in the redeeming goodness of humanity that drives this evolutionary process. If we can find these sources of faith, we can also find the hope that allows us to make bold changes. Otherwise, prepare to face disaster.
This article was written and narrated by William Halal, author of the book Beyond Knowledge: How Technology is Driving an Age of Consciousness. We hope that you have enjoyed this article. For over 30 years, we at Inner Self have sought to encourage new attitudes and new possibilities. For more inspiration, visit us at innerself.com. Thank you. Visit the Inner Self Market for new attitudes and new possibilities. You'll find inspiring books, wonderful music CDs, audiobooks, card decks, candles, jewelry, gifts, all kinds of wonderful things. Visit us at market.innerself.com.